So, assuming that most of you have either siblings, cousins, or just friends in general, put yourself in this scenario really quick and just imagine them coming to you for some advice on their dating life. And they tell you, so I met a person online and I'm thinking about going on a date with this person, but they have 22 sexual allegations from 22 different people. The only thing not stopping me is that there's no actual proof behind it, so what do you think? Should I go or should I not go? Would you tell them, yeah, you should go for it, or no, that could be dangerous or can turn into something dangerous? Hopefully most of you in that scenario would tell them not to go. And if that really happened, I think you would probably feel very uncomfortable just hearing your family member or consider going on this date. And that discomfort you would feel in that scenario is a discomfort you should feel when thinking about bubbling Donald Trump's name on the ballot this year. But really quick, I will touch on several things in this speech, including my own voting mentality, our country being divided into two groups, the climate change that Trump ignores, immigrational issues, and why Donald Trump should not be our president for another 4 years. To start off with, I do want to point out I have conservative views myself, but I won't get into them simply because I want to keep this as unbiased as I could. You'd assume that me having conservative values, I'd vote for the politician or the candidate that shares those same political values as I do. But the only thing stopping me this year is that before my conservative values comes my human decency and basic humanity. And I just simply couldn't get myself to vote for a man who completely lacks those two things. And ultimately, those two things are something we look for in every person in our lives. We often hear politicians say that they're going to strive for unity and to be a leader for both parties and to fit all our needs, which we all know it's pretty hard, but at least they're going to try. And we did hear Donald Trump say, together we will make America strong again, we will make America wealthy, we will make America proud again, and we will make America safe again. The key words in this quote are together and we. He said together and we, meaning as a group, including everyone. And it's very clear that it does not include everyone because he has divided us into two different groups, those who support him and those who don't. He has divided our country from the get-go, and an early indication of that was in 2016 when he won presidency. He did a victory tour and only visited the 30 states that he won in and completely disregarded the rest. His supporters, of course, they mirror his behavior and call those who don't support him offensive things, and some names that I've heard myself when referring to non-Trump supporters are libs, socialists, retards, and thugs, which I just don't know how I can roll out of someone's tongue so easily, these offensive names. If it's not something we would call our own mother, why would we be calling this random stranger these names? Hey, between the two groups that he has created, those who support him and those who don't, it's just pushing us further and further away from being the United Nation that we're supposed to be. Also, President Donald Trump just simply doesn't acknowledge the severity of global warming. According to NASA's climate change effects, global warming will cause temperatures to rise more. There'll be more changes in the precipitation pattern. There's going to be more droughts and heat waves, and sea levels will rise up to 8 feet by the end of this century. Pretty scary things. It's destroying ecosystems all over the world, and we clearly see it. We can take a look at the Arctic and the polar bears and the ice caps melting. It's really happening, and even closer, we can see it happening here in California and the severity of the wildfires this year. CAL FIRE statistics in 2019 says that there was 259,823 acres burned, and this year there was over 4 million acres burned. We can see how drastic the numbers were and how it's global warming that it's affecting it. Global warming is intensifying natural disasters. And imagine, just try to imagine where our planet's going to be 100 years from now, or even 50 years from now, and what kind of world and planet our grandkids and our own kids are going to be living in. It's pretty scary. And as we all know, Donald Trump loves Twitter just like any other teenager nowadays. And Donald Trump actually tweeted himself, "Global warming is a total and very expensive hoax." And he also said, "This very expensive global warming bullshit has to stop." I mean, we can clearly see he just doesn't believe it if he's referring to global warming as bullshit. He would rather pay attention to the financial matters that go into decreasing the CO2 emissions here in our country, and he's just completely disregarding the catastrophic effects that global warming actually has on us right now and in our future. Another thing Donald Trump has done or is currently doing is that he is completely against immigrants in our country and has taken it to a very inhumane level. Trump's administration, the way that they deter immigrants out of our country is just simply by treating them like animals. So first they rip them from their family, they capture them, they put them in a cage, and then treat them like an animal. And I will insert some pictures here right now. Those pictures are very disturbing to see, so sorry about that. According to the American Civil Liberties Union and Human Rights Watch, there are 200 immigration detention camps right now ran by ICE, and those who are detained have said themselves that necessary medications such as inhalers for their asthma are not provided for them, as well as soap for hygiene and showering, and cleaning supplies for their, what we call cages, because they are cages. And 99.1% who seek for asylum were denied. They are given foil blankets to cover themselves with as they sleep, and they also are caged with 20 to 100 people depending on the size. There are 545 migrant children currently under the Trump administration who cannot locate their parents. And if you just imagine yourself as a kid not knowing where your parents are, and later finding out that they have been detained and treated like animals, how devastating and just horrible to even think or know. So just, I know it's all disturbing, but sadly it is happening, and it's still gonna happen if he's gonna be our president for another 4 years. But lastly, I do just wanna thank you guys for listening, and this election ultimately is up to us, and it is up to us to see the change that we wanna see. We wanna see basic human rights in our country again. We wanna see people's lives being valued. We wanna see everyone's voices heard and actually respected. I want to ask really quick, do we want a president that sees women as a joke and has 22 sexual allegations from 22 different females? As a woman, I don't want a president who takes a woman as a joke. Do we want a president who has installed hatred in our nation between two groups when we're supposed to be one? Now we're two because of him. And do we want a president that brushes the severity of climate change and how it's affecting us and how it's going to affect not just us but our future generations? And lastly, do we want a president that doesn't value other human beings' lives and keeps them in cages and treats them as if they were not a human? My hope is by having a new president in our country that will neutralize everything that is going on by bringing a sense of hope and unity back into our lives. And just one last thing to keep in mind is that vote with human decency. Yes, our political values have a lot to do with this, and I just ask to vote with human decency, because if we do, we're going to realize that we're speaking for the most vulnerable citizens in our country who don't have a voice and who aren't heard. And by voting with human decency, we're just going to get, if we do vote with human decency, we're going to get this president out. If anything about President Donald Trump that was mentioned in this speech made you feel uncomfortable, just remember that when you're thinking about bubbling in his name this year. Thank you.